Kansas NG911 GIS user group meeting. Welcome. Hope this is where you're meant to be. This is for our second quarter meeting for 2025. As you know, we do these every quarter. If you've interested in past iterations of this, and maybe you're new to the program or just wonder what we said, we have these, we always post the slides as well as a recording of these webinars on the DASC Hub, as well as the Kansas 911 Coordinating Council website. So in case you're ever interested in some historical context, I want to go backwards and see what we've talked about in previous webinars, just a reminder that all that is posted out there. Okay, well, I will kick things off to talk about just a few project updates. Then I'll hand it off to Will, our NG911 GIS developer, who makes sure that your data is getting submitted, processed, aggregated, and all those good things. And he'll talk about the toolbox update. And then I'll hand it off to our fearless leader, Sherry Massey, the executive director of the 911 Coordinating Council, soon to be the 911 board, as they transition to state agency soon. As usual, if you have any questions as we're going through today, feel free to pop them in the chat. We don't have a ton of slides today, so you could even probably come off mute and ask your question if you want. So feel free to jump in anytime if you have any questions. Okay, so I will start off with an update on the 911 imagery. So as you know, we were able to acquire, thanks to the 911 Coordinating Council, statewide imagery in the early 2024. So it was flown from about mid-February to mid-April 2024. We were able to capture the entire year, the entire state last year, good weather conditions. So it's statewide, 1 foot leaf off, 4 bands, so it's color and CIR imagery. So the status is it has been delivered. It is now available for download from the DASC Hub, and I'll show a snapshot of that here in a second. So the download files are tiled into 24K USGS quadrangle tiles, and those are in Mr. SID format. And we've requested those to be delivered in Gen 3 and Gen 4, because I know we still have a few people that for AutoCAD or certain software packages, they still aren't quite compatible with Gen 4 SID files. So you'll find both of those generations out there available for download. But the data that is not available is the imagery service, publicly available imagery service, either in the hub or in our call handling mapping software for PSAP. So those are still under development. We're in the middle of migrating over to Azure at DASC, so we're almost ready to publish that out. We're just waiting to kind of get the final okay approval on a few things from KUIT and make sure we have things set up. So that public imagery service should be coming very soon. So that's the one. Again, it's public domain data that anyone can use and grab and download the data, whatever. And then we are getting ready to receive delivery of the 911 imagery service, which will be a tile cache service that we publish as part of the web map in the radius call handling map that the PSAPs use. So we hope to have that copied over, integrated into the web map, and also available to the PSAPs here, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's just, this is big data, people. So it takes a long time just to get things copied over, processed, services up and published, and things like that. So at least at this point, you can download the quads for your area from the, here, I'll click to the next slide. Go ahead and, this is the kind of new and improved Kansas imagery and download viewer that you'll find on the DASC Hub site. There's a link at the top called imagery. If you just click on that, it'll take you to this page. So you can use that interactive imagery viewer and downloader. So at this point, all you can do is download the 2024 imagery. You can't view it yet since the imagery service is available. But as soon as that's available, we'll add it as a service for you to be able to view in the viewer, as well as if you scroll down on this page, there's links to the imagery services. So we'll update that as soon as that's available. So super excited to get this imagery and make it available for everybody to use. We're on the usual 3-year cycle. So at this point, assuming the 911 Coordinating Council will continue to fund imagery, the next update plan would be in 2027. So, okay, so that's it on imagery. The next big update, which hopefully all of you received emails about earlier this week, is we have released the Kansas NG911 GIS data model, version 3. It is now available and released and available for you to download and start using. I always joke, the good news is there's not major changes to for our GIS data maintainers. There's really no new attributes, data layers, or major changes to the current geodatabase or data setup or validation process. It's always we're always being mindful of making sure the data model aligns with the NINA standard, and we just kind of always double checking, making sure we're in alignment. And as we told you before, there's some things we do on the backside of once we get your submissions, validate them, aggregate them together statewide. We do some post processing, so we always make sure we're getting everything processed, doing the right validations and everything to align with the national standard. I think a great improvement to the standard this time is these additional appendices. So we've got, I have them all listed here. Appendix C is a version history, contains a complete list of all the changes to the different versions. Through the years, we've gotten questions about different addressing scenarios, and we thought, boy, where can we capture and put that for people to have something to refer back to? So added a section on addressing scenarios, things like how do I address my center pivot irrigation, or, oddball things like that. Also added a crosswalk to the NINA NG911 GIS data model V3, which is the one that's officially out and published. I know they're working on the next version, but that's the one that's out and officially been released. Information about road name parsing, as well as an MSAG crosswalk. So it is a pretty lengthy document, but I think it's really worth your time to download it and then also browse through these new appendices, because there's a lot of good information on there. And we always take your feedback and questions and information and add to the appendices. So I think it's not only does it talk about the standard, it's kind of turned into a nice reference document about all things regarding, pertaining to the 911 GIS data. So any questions on the data model or imagery? Or anything Sherry or Will wanted to add to that before I move on? No? Okay. Okay, then with that, I will hand it over to Will to talk about the NG911 toolbox update.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah, hopefully along with the email about the new data model, you also received a toolbox update link. That email went out shortly after the other one to the data maintainers and a few other people who were included on that contact list. But yeah, as Eileen touched on, there's not a lot on anybody's on the maintainer end that's changed. We had some database changes, the way the model is handling a couple of the feature classes. So we took the agency ID field out of the ESBs, ESCs, and authoritative boundary feature classes. And we also removed cell sectors because I think we had altogether, I think we had maybe 2 or 3 PSAPs that had submitted cell sector data, and that data was years old. It hadn't been updated in a very long time. So essentially it was going unused, so we've just removed it. And then on the validation side, there's a few things that changed. What happens when your data comes in? Again, we took out the agency ID information from some of the checks that are happening for required fields, domains, and removed the cell sectors from that optional check. You don't have the option in the portal anymore, and when your data is running, it's not going to try and check anything for the cell sectors. So basically, business as usual for everybody else. We did have a change to the templates. If you look at the templates, there are a couple of corrections that'll reflect these things. You won't see the agency ID in those feature classes. You won't see cell sectors in the optional classes. You'll see some new domains, etc., that were released along with data model version 3. Yeah, next slide, please. And I'm going to put this on along with some more information on the story map that's online. A link will be available in one of these slides here. But this is kind of what one of these objects looks like inside the toolbox. So this is kind of the objects are kind of how we handle the data for the feature classes. And so we kind of map out the fields, kind of define the objects. So that's what you'll be able to see that we removed. The agency ID, that's also where we can control information about which fields are required and which fields have domains, et cetera, that we use kind of throughout interacting with data in the toolbox. And the 911 data set. So I'll go into more detail on that and what was taken out and where we move stuff around if people are interested in. If you go into GitHub as well, there's also a version history, edit history tree that's really good there that you can kind of see um, what things have changed in all the different scripts that are in the toolbox, where things were changed over time. So that's something if you're really interested, kind of what happened, which probably there's not really any reason to be unless something goes wrong. But yeah, that information is all available on GitHub as well. And then, yeah, getting very close to Python 3. Some of that is also going to be in a good position because we are, as Eileen touched on, doing some infrastructure changes, and that'll happen along with some of the 911 processing things as well. So most of that stuff can be moved to Python 3 at that time. We're kind of consolidating, cleaning things up, and the process to get this done is pretty much done as well. I think we'll still have a few legacy things with some Python 2, and ArcMap, things with like some geocoders, because there's some compatibility things that go back and forth there. I think that might be the main one, but I could be missing something else as well. But yep, just trying to clean that up and get that out here soon. And that is about it. On my end, like I said, the story map is available online. On the website, there's a link and a QR code to it. My contact information down below. We've already had a couple submissions come in since we've cut over to the new changes, so things seem to be working properly on the back end. But if you run into any problems, please reach out and let me know, and we can figure out what we need to do to get things going again for you. And if there's a bigger issue, we'll go ahead and change that on the toolbox as well. But as far as I can tell from testing and the data going live, things seem to be working as intended. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or get stuck on anything with any of your data processing or data maintenance, and happy to help out. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Will. Any questions for Will at this time? Or I don't see anything in the chat yet. So be thinking of your questions for Will if you have any. I think the story map is really helpful to kind of detail the different versions and updates in the story map. So, or in the toolbox, sorry. So be sure and check out the story map. He does a great job with that. Okay, not seeing any questions. We'll move over to Sherry Massey.
Thank you. So the really big news that I have, other than a couple of updates I'll give after, is about the critical facility mapping grants. I mentioned these in the Q1 user group meeting, but there was a little bit of a surprise at the state budget process this year. The legislature gave the state 911 board $2 million to give out to 911 centers across the state for indoor mapping. So how we kind of plan to put all this together is that we are going to put out an RFP fairly soon, within the next few weeks, I'm hoping, to get vendors for doing indoor mapping at schools and other types of facilities. And just like we did the data remediation project at the beginning of the NG911 program, we're not going to just approve a single vendor to do it. We will identify multiple vendors, hopefully, that meet the requirements and have prices in a reasonable range. And then when 911 centers apply for a grant, they'll be able to select which vendor they would prefer to work with. That way, if they already have a relationship with a particular vendor, or if a vendor offers a particular add-on service that maybe isn't covered by the grant, but is something that their area really wants, that they can choose the vendor based on those types of things. So this grant project is very clearly dictated in the statute about what can be, what types of buildings can be mapped. The priority is K through 12 schools, both public and private. That's the big one. But then it is also eligible to cover post-secondary state education facilities, so like community colleges, technical colleges, the universities, that kind of thing. Government buildings, mass gathering sites like event centers or um, parks, things like that, and healthcare facilities. Um, so it is quite likely that we will not be able to fund anything more than K through 12 schools unless we just don't get enough applications for K through 12 schools to go through the money. So just something to kind of keep in mind. So PSAPs will be able to apply for as many facilities as they like, whether or not they eventually will get funded, but that way we have their application and we have their full list and all the documentation. And if, as is possible, the grant money gets renewed next year, then we'll hold on to those applications going forward. So, anyway, there's still quite a bit to be determined in terms of details. Like I said, the RFP has not gone out yet. But we do have a committee that's been put together to work on this, and it includes both local GIS and PSAP representation, as well as school board representation, then, of course, us on the council and members of DASC. So we have a nice broad group kind of working on the project and getting things going. And we're hoping it's going to be really successful. It does have an awful quick timeline for us. The money has to, everything has to be done, and the money all has to be paid out by June 30th of next year. So that's pretty quick, especially when you're talking about wrangling this many facilities and PSAPs and all of that kind of thing. But if you have an interest in having something like this done in your area, then helping to facilitate between the 911 centers and the schools or the other facilities that you might be considering asking them to apply for is probably your best way to do that. If you have any questions about the project now or in the future as you're looking at it, please let us know. Both Eileen and I are kind of the leads of the project for the coordinating council, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And if we need to put together a more detailed presentation on it for our GIS folks around the state, we'll be more than happy to do that. Not seeing any questions pop up in chat, I will move on. So our data maintainer training will continue to be offered pre-conference at CAM. It is on the schedule for this year. And as always, I am asking if there's anything specific you'd like to see changed or added to the class. And if you don't have any thoughts about it right now, but something comes up later, please feel free to communicate that with us. The class is set up to touch on the things that that are necessary in order to meet the requirements for the data submission, but that doesn't mean that we can't cover other stuff. Anything that you would like to see, including going over any of the stuff that Eileen mentioned that is in the appendices of the version 3 of the data model. Also, we always give an update on the public safety platform from AT&T, which is where the MSAG and the telephone records are sitting. And as far as we have been told, everyone that requested access has been given access. And you probably got an email, if you have access, that looks something like spam saying you need to reset your password with AT&T. If you need access and don't have it, please let us know, and we will put a request into AT&T to get you an account. If you're wondering why would I need access, if you would like to see the MSAGs that get generated out of your GIS data, or you would like to check on the telephone record lists or something along that line is why you would need access. But at this point, the process is pretty clean. And even when people do have questions, it's infrequently enough that you can send them to us and we can run them down for you. So you're welcome to have access if you want it. If you don't have it, let us know. But if you have any questions and aren't sure how to answer them, you can always get with us and we'll give you what we can. And I believe that is it.
I don't see any questions, Sherry, but kind of go back to, well, of course, here's the update on outreach and, webinars. We do our quarterly webinars, and then the GIS data steward trainings available on the Kansas 911 Coordinating Council's learning platform. And then, of course, as Sherry mentioned, we'll do the GIS data maintainer workshop at the CAMP conference this year. Visit the DASC Hub and the Coordinating Council website for more information. The Coordinating Council website, I think, will be redesigned over the next year, Sherry, right? So you'll start seeing some changes there.
That is correct. And probably the biggest change is that as a state agency, we have to use a .gov domain. So if you go to kansas911.org, not right now, but within the next couple of months, it'll start auto forwarding you to kansas911.gov.
Okay, perfect. One thing I wanted to also mention as follow-up, let's see, I want to go back to indoor mapping, but before I do that, someone mentioned I'm not seeing the 2024 imagery available for download. So if you go to the imagery page that I had a snapshot of up here, if you click on the map, you'll see it available. You won't see it in the table of contents yet because it's not available as an imagery service. But if you click on the map, you will see it, the different years available, 2024 available for download in the map itself. So zoom in and click on the map to there you're looking at. You should be able to see the download files from there. Perfect. Okay. So back to the indoor mapping. I also want to remind everyone, and I believe we reported on this last time, that we did do a pilot project for the indoor mapping to kind of see what data was out there and how we can use it and just what we do with it. So that is available also on the DASC Hub under the 911 page. If you go to the DASC Hub 911 page and go under, let me make sure I'm telling the right place. Go under standards, and then I've got all sorts of things covering up my screen today for some reason. One moment, I can't seem to get this out of the way. Okay. Then go under policies and documentation, you'll see that pilot study. So just as a reminder, gosh darn it, we did that, learned a lot from it. It's helping guide, put together this RFP for the indoor mapping. So expect a lot more announcements and information coming soon. But like Sherry said, we just kind of found out we have funding and we're rapidly putting things together, including an RFP. So a lot more information to be shared soon. All right, anyone else come up with any questions while we were chatting there? All right, well, like I said, I thought it was going to be a quick meeting today. So I just showed, I can switch. Ken was asking if I wanted to show that in my browser. Let me switch here. Let me switch over to browser and just show you where to find all this on the 911 Coordinating Council website. That might be easier. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, hopefully everyone can see my browser screen. So this is the DASC Hub site, of course. And if you scroll down, I keep referring to this. This is the NG911 section. So we try to always include anything GIS related here. This is kind of your go-to source, especially if you can't find it on the Kansas 911 Coordinating Council website and it's GIS related. We should have it over here on the DASC Hub. So as you can see, there's lots of different options and things in the menu bar. But if you go to standards, that's where you'll find not only the new data model, the data model domains, the data model templates, but then also down here under policies and documentation, this is what I'm talking about, the pilot study we completed last year where we ended up having 4 vendors map the same school in Kansas so we can understand when someone said, I can do indoor mapping for you, we could really understand what they meant by indoor mapping. So it was really informative. I think it's an interesting document to read through. And like I said, that helping guide us prepare the RFP and different things for the upcoming project. So, all right. Well, with that, any other questions from anyone? All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. That was kind of a short and sweet one, but sometimes that's the good update. You know, less news is good news, perhaps. But we'll be reaching out as we have more information, and be sure to contact us if you have any questions. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.